Guys, do you see the headline that I have of this video, which is that you've probably seen it in the news today, that Florida officials are set to recommend that healthy children in Florida not get the COVID vaccine? I'm just going to come right out and say I have never heard of anything so backwards. Now, I try to be even keel and PC and all this stuff, but I'm telling y'all right now, I have not heard something so backwards in a long time. We're going to talk about this because if it's like literally blowing my mind and I'm sitting here like I can't even believe this, I can't even imagine what you all think as people in the public, wondering like how does this happen? First of all, let me quickly say, and by the way, I'm Dr. Jen. It's good to see you guys. I do lives most days on the breaking topics, breaking headline news related to health. I do videos on health. I do videos on lifestyle stuff, celebrity health. I do videos on myself. The video I recently did on I'm over 40 and not married, which you guys, a lot of you have watched and you have weighed in on. And I so appreciate you. So keep your comments coming and keep your stories coming. I so appreciate them. You guys are amazing. But let's go back to this. Oh, and by the way, let me also say, guys, you're able to order your second set of COVID vaccine tests or COVID tests. Go to covidtest.gov. Anybody who is watching, I see you guys are on YouTube. Lonnie, hey, I see you on YouTube. I see you guys on Facebook. Please just write in the comments, covidtest.gov. Today is the day, or whenever you are watching this on replay, March 7th is the day that you can order your second batch of free COVID tests from the government. So make sure you go to covidtest.gov. I actually ordered mine right before coming live with you guys because I wanted to make sure it worked. It did. I put my address in there. I'm going to get my second batch. So make sure you do that. Okay, can we please go back to what's happening? First of all, let me break it down to you about what the situation is according to reports that I've seen. I was in the office seeing patients all day today. So when I came home, I read about what's going on. This apparently is what's going on. The Florida governor, DeSantis, and the chief health officer plan apparently to recommend against COVID vaccination for healthy kids. By the way, that makes no sense. I'm going to talk about that. Apparently, this was an announcement that came at the conclusion of a 90-minute forum that DeSantis held. Just a little bit of background. Many of Florida's officials have been, I'd say, against or not in agreement with school closures, mask mandates, vaccination mandates, and things like that have happened all throughout the pandemic. Many officials, in particular in Florida, have felt like they have been unwarranted, a waste of time, even potentially harmful. I'm generalizing, but I'm just trying to sort of paint a wide brush so you get sort of the scope. A quote that was in some of the articles that I read today is that Florida is going to be, and I believe the Florida Surgeon General is the one who said this, do not quote me, but it is a quote from a Florida official. Florida is going to be the first state to officially recommend against the COVID vaccine for healthy kids. That is the quote. And we know that many officials in Florida have had, had skepticism about the vaccine, about COVID in general, about masks, etc. Oh, y'all, where do I start? Where do I even start with this? Where do I start? Let's start with facts. Okay, y'all's ready? Because I am. Let me give you some facts, and then I'm going to give you some ways that I think about it that hopefully will help you understand why, to me, it makes no sense. Sorry, I'm drinking soda. I know I'm trying to cut back. For those of you who are new to my channel, I love Coke Zero. I should not drink as much as I do, but we all have things to work on. All right. Some facts. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we've lost about 1,600 children from COVID that have died from COVID. About 40, or at least over 40, have of these deaths in children have occurred in children who lived in Florida. Get this, y'all. 4.5 million children were diagnosed with contracted COVID since the beginning of January. Yeah, remember Omicron? Crazy Omicron? Yeah, since the beginning of January, 4.5 million children have developed COVID. We do know that there is a vaccine recommendation for the COVID vaccine for children ages 5 and above. That is recommended by the FDA and the CDC. But however, that is also endorsed by many, many, many other other organizations, such as the American Academy of Pediatrics, American Academy of Family Physicians. Almost, I don't know that I know of a medical organization that does not endorse the recommendations of the CDC and FDA. Okay, and it is recommended through hundreds and thousands of doctors, including myself and other people. You guys are asking for the website to order the home self test. It's covidtests.gov. Okay. 25 million kids or so have been vaccinated, which is a really good number. Better, but it's a number. Okay. And this is the thing. Let's talk about the efficacy of the vaccine. Okay. And these are the facts. And I'm going to go to, I think, what is happening, and maybe, I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but I've got some ideas. All right. The COVID vaccines really are essential for keeping us out of the hospital, keeping us from dying from COVID, even lowering our chances of getting COVID. Okay. I've really been preaching this for the last 2 years. You all know that. I think many of you have been happy lately that I've taken a break from talking about COVID. You said so. You're like, oh, I like it when you don't talk about COVID. And I can understand that. This was really important to talk about. So this is the thing, right? The vaccine is literally crucial to helping us get out of this pandemic. But I know you're going to say, well, I mean, I don't know, Dr. Jen, the vaccine's not perfect. I mean, I keep hearing these articles that the vaccine effectiveness wanes, and how many boosters are we going to need to have anyway, you say. And you know what? You got a point. So let's talk about that. We do know that the effectiveness of the vaccine goes down over time. We found this with adults and we found this with kids. But we do know that the ability of the vaccine to protect against hospitalization and death sort of holds up. And that is important, because one of the most important things we want to do with these vaccines is to keep people from dying. If you get a little cold with COVID, we can deal with it a lot better than if you get something that winds you in the hospital and causes you to die, right? Okay. The other thing we have to keep in mind is that, remember, people used to say, well, kids don't really get COVID. Well, they may be less likely to get it. They may be more likely to have less severe cases, but they can still get it. They can still transmit it to adults. They can still actually get severe consequences, such as the MISC, multi-system inflammatory syndrome. MISC, multi-system inflammatory syndrome. Oh, I got to look that up again. You know what I'm talking about. The syndrome that affects the whole body of the kids. Bad. MISC. Okay. And we know that kids who are vaccinated are less likely to be hospitalized for COVID and do better. Some recent data, and then I'll sort of talk to you a little bit about what I think. Some recent data showed that grade schoolers who were vaccinated were half as likely to have a COVID case that needed them or required them to have emergency care, such as going to an urgent care or an ER. Okay. So meaning if your kids are vaccinated, if they were to get COVID, they're a lot less likely to require you to run to the ER or to the urgent care in the middle of the night or whenever to get them treatment, which is great. And the benefits honestly go on and on and on. So you say, well, then why would people, you say, okay, well, that's cool. Well, why would people say, why would Florida's health officials say that if you're healthy, you shouldn't get the COVID vaccine for kids? I don't know. I'm going to keep it real with you. There are many, many people who believe in conspiracy theories with regards to COVID and the COVID vaccines. But not just that, with regards to masks, there are people still saying that masks are harmful, that masks cause you to have decreased oxygen levels. I've done videos on that. And don't just believe my videos, read the literature. There are people who still insist that COVID vaccines are more dangerous than getting the actual disease. That is a lie. But there are people who insist on that. There are people who insist that the vaccines are not effective, that they are harmful, as I just mentioned, that masks are harmful, that keeping kids out of school for those times that we've had crazy surges was actually a bad idea. And the list goes on and on and on. And what we call those, or at least what I call those at this time and through COVID, has been basically conspiracy theories. And you say, well, why would you call conspiracy theories? I think it's just, I'm just, playing devil's advocate. You might say, well, no, it's something that needs to be explored. Well, no, the thing about it is we have data. We have proof that those things don't exist. So why is it that people are still touting those things? Well, your guess is as good as I. But it's also when you have an agenda or when you have something that you want to push, you can easily take data and manipulate it so that you pull out the one thing that happens to one person and say, aha, see, COVID vaccines do this. Or aha, look at VAERS. And by the way, I've done videos on VAERS, the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System. Remember, just because people have reported on VAERS that they got a stomach ache after the vaccine doesn't mean that the vaccine caused the stomach ache. VAERS says that in big writing. I think many people who talk about the VAERS system and touting probably have never even read it or been to it. Go to VAERS.org. I don't know what the website is. You can go to the VAERS site. It very plainly says that the adverse effects that are reported are not verified, and that it's not a sign of proof that the vaccine caused that adverse event. VAERS is a system that anybody can type on. You could say, my left toe fell off. There is no one there to verify that. And there's no one there to say it did or did not, it was or was not caused by the vaccine. My point being is, it's disturbing, but we have had, unfortunately, so many conspiracy theories and so many ulterior motives and agendas with COVID that it literally is killing people. Now, why would people want to do this? I'm not saying that they do. And I'm not talking about anyone in particular right now. I'm just talking about COVID at large. But this is the thing. I think what's also been confusing is that we've also seen physicians that have fallen in this side, in this category. And that for me was something I never saw before. That to me has been the hardest part to me, is seeing physician colleagues who trained in medical school just like I did, who took an oath to do no harm, who learned to read the science just like I, make a conscious choice to buck the science and believe in conspiracy theories, or even more so to tout them, which ultimately causes harm to other people. I don't understand why that happens. But we have seen it with COVID more than we've seen it with anything that I have dealt with lately. And the truth of the matter is, guys, I want you to think about this. Let's say that you're on the fence about whether the COVID vaccine is really good or helpful or not, or whatever, okay? Let me remind you that the CDC and the FDA and so many other organizations endorse it. That's the American Academy of Family Practitioners, the internists, the infectious disease doctors, all sorts of people, the American Academy of Pediatrics, okay? Now, this is the thing. What surprises me is that for those people who may not believe in the vaccine or masks or whatever, which so many of these medical organizations endorse, those same people trust these very same medical organizations to make other recommendations for their child or them. When you're hospitalized, who do you think is making decisions about how things should go in terms of standard of care, what antibiotics we use, what vaccines we give, what treatments we give? It's these same organizations that these very people are saying they don't now trust because somehow they've cherry-picked the COVID vaccine and they don't trust it. But I don't understand, because when you're pregnant, you follow the guidelines of the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology. Many pregnant women do what their OBGYN says, which is following guidelines. And by the way, gynecologists recommend the COVID vaccine for pregnant patients. What I don't understand is, why is other medicine okay and good enough, but this medicine somehow is not? What's the difference? I'm a family doctor. I recommend flu shots every year. Tetanus vaccines, we recommend them for pregnant patients. Shingles vaccine, I've done videos on that. Pneumonia vaccines, HPV vaccines. But why is this vaccine different? Why is this recommendation different than all the other recommendations we make that many of the very patients who are bucking the vaccine and the science follow with any other and every other circumstance? And the other thing I have to say is, what I think is remarkable is that for many people, and I literally have recently seen a patient who's come to me for post-COVID symptoms. He will not get the vaccine, does not believe in it. His argument is that, well, why get the vaccine when you can get sick anyway? But he had COVID and he's been dealing with long hauler symptoms. But yet he comes to me for treatment. He follows the guidance. He's seeing the specialist. He's taking the medications that the cardiologist and this doctor have recommended. He's doing all of that. Which, by the way, all of those things are recommended by the same organizations that are recommending the COVID vaccine. But he'll do that. But he will not get the vaccine. What I don't understand is that sometimes it feels like hypocrisy. Sometimes it feels like just confusion. People will not take the vaccine, but the minute they get sick, they'll run to the hospital and they'll take all those treatments. All those treatments are okay. Why are they okay? Why are those treatments acceptable? Why will you take the nebulizer and the antivirals? Why will you take the Paxlovid and the remdesivir? Why will you take that? Because that stuff is recommended by the same organizations as the vaccine. So what's the difference? You'll run to the hospital when you're sick, but you won't take the vaccine to stay well? First of all, I want to know what you think. And one of you, Shirley, just said on Facebook, you said it's different, not our children. But parents do the same thing for their children. The vaccination schedule that you use, that you get your child vaccinated against so they can go to school. So you've done this already. You have followed these guidelines already if your child is in school in the United States because they had to get their vaccines. My point is, you've done it. You've already followed the recommendations of the CDC and the FDA. And you know what, guys? Rotavirus, the diarrhea bug, when that vaccine came out, you got your kids vaccinated with that, even when it was a new vaccine. People say, oh, but it's a vaccine. Every vaccine is new when it first comes out. Never had this problem before. Every vaccine is new when it first comes out. We also argue, too, this idea of saying healthy children should not get vaccinated literally goes against and is backwards against why we give vaccines. One of the reasons why we give, okay, let me switch it around this way, by the way. Think about the last time you saw a case of measles, which for some of you actually may be more recently than others because there have been out pockets of measles. Think about the last time you saw a case of the mumps or rubella. Think about the last time you saw somebody get polio. No, not somebody who had polio in the 50s or 60s, but somebody who's recently gotten polio. Think about the last time you saw somebody with chickenpox, got chickenpox. You might be hard pressed to come up with faces and names of people who gotten measles, mumps, and rubella. Tetanus. Tetanus actually makes your muscles contract. You die because of that respiratory failure and that. When was the last time you saw somebody with tetanus? You know why you haven't? Because we have vaccines. That's why you've never seen anybody with tetanus. That's why kids don't lose oodles and oodles of school from chickenpox. That's why people don't suffer from polio the way they used to. That's why kids don't get measles, mumps, and rubella, because they got vaccinated. You know, not vaccinating healthy children is backwards. You want to vaccinate healthy kids as well as those who are not healthy to keep them from getting disease, to keep them healthy. It's the sole purpose. One of the sole purposes of vaccination. So I want to remind you. Well, Elena, you say, what's wrong with one's own immune system? Well, I hope you are asking yourself that of people who got measles, mumps, and rubella and who died of tetanus and who died of the plague. What do you mean what's wrong with someone's immune system? I don't mean to sound rude, but if our immune system was all we needed, we would never die from bugs that we get. But we do know that there are infectious agents that can take us down because sometimes our immune system is not enough. I suppose you can take that chance and say, I'm going to rely on my immune system, but I certainly wouldn't with these diseases. I wouldn't take that chance. I mean, even asking something like what's wrong with our own immune system, people have died from the flu and the plague and measles and polio since the beginning is what we can remember. Nobody ever said the immune system fought off everything. I think that's a current concept. I don't know where people got the idea that, oh, your immune system does everything. Who said that? Our immune system's amazing, but it doesn't, and it can't do everything. I mean, I would say then, do you never take medications? If you got an immune system, right? Why take medications ever? But many might, right? Many of the people who say, I don't want a vaccine, will take the antibiotic when they get the ear infection. What's wrong with the immune system then? I'm not trying to be smart. I'm trying to show you the fallacy in that argument. I'm not trying to be demeaning. I'm trying to show you the fallacy in that argument. What's wrong with the immune system? Well, then when you get a UTI, why go to the doctor then? Got pneumonia? Why you go to the hospital? Immune system should take care of it, right? We know the immune system doesn't take care of everything. That's why we're lucky to have vaccines. We're lucky to not see things like polio and measles and mumps and rubella. Thank God. Can you imagine if we lived 100 years earlier? We worried about dying by the age of 50 or whatever the age limit was because we didn't have what we have now. I think what we have is a privilege. And I know it's confusing when you hear doctors speaking conspiracy stuff. I know you got to be like, what in the heck? I say that too. What I ask you to do is to think about what the majority does. There are always going to be outliers. COVID has taught us that. There are going to be doctors who don't believe in the right stuff and who don't tout the right stuff and who don't tell the truth. Just like there are politicians who do that and people in other areas. But think about what the majority of people do. Think about what your doctor does. If you wonder what you should do, talk to your doctor. If they're your doctor, I'm trusting that you trust them. Chances are they're on the side of get the vaccine because most doctors are. So if you've been wondering about this, I don't know, I just said a lot of stuff, but I think it's important. I really, really, really think it's important. And a lot of people, Angela, you ask, how do you figure you died from the vaccine? There's a lot of people who really erroneously and falsely believe that the vaccine kills. What I would say to that is, well, I've been vaccinated times 3, and God willing, I'm still alive. And there have been millions of people throughout the world that have gotten the vaccine. And I'd like to ask you, do you really think that, I mean, honestly, do you really think that all these millions of people are going to die because they got the vaccine? If you do, then I would actually argue you're probably living a very fearful life. That actually is terrifying, that thought. It's terrifying. And I'm sorry if you feel that way because it's got to be a very terrifying way to live. But it's not true. Every day people are getting this vaccine. So, got on a little soapbox, y'all. You know I get on this every now. Oh, yeah. Question, did I get a booster? Oh, yeah. Absolutely, I got a booster. I videotaped all of the times that I got the vaccine. I recorded them live. There are videos on my Facebook page and YouTube of when I got the vaccines because I wanted you all to see. Okay. So yeah, I've got video of me getting. I got every year. I get the flu shot on camera. I get that because I think it's really, really important. Um, you know, I just think it's important, and I'm sad for Florida. I'm sad for Florida and the kids and the parents in Florida that are really dealing with basically a lot of information that's really diametrically opposed. I think it's got to be tough. Um, I am sad for the kids that were shamed about wearing masks at the recent political event. I'm sad about all of that because it's confusing and it's sad and it's terrifying and it's maddening and it's honestly, it's dangerous. So I know I've gone on for a while, but this was really important for me to say because I haven't talked about this for a while. Um, and actually, I want to read this comment because George, yes, thank you, George. He's one of my Dr. superstars. He says, I've been vaccinated 4 times. I'm still alive. Also, no new or developing health issues. So the theory clearly is false. What I would say is for any of you who believes that the vaccine is actually dangerous or that it's more dangerous than COVID or you think it kills, I'd invite you to do is to talk to some people who have gotten the vaccine and ask them how they feel and if they believe that and what have you, rather than just reading or watching what you typically read and watch. Try talking to the other side and get some perspective from someone who's gotten it. Find out. Ask them. Say, look, I've heard that the vaccine hurts people. How are you doing? Get out of your space that you're in, maybe, and talk to other people. You know, if you want, I say go to the source if that's your concern. First of all, we got thousands of data points that says that's not true. These vaccines have been out for a couple of years, and in fact, the technology has been around for years and years before that. These vaccine concepts are not new. I could go on, but if that's not enough, get out of your comfort zone and talk to somebody. Have the courage to go up and talk to them and say, how do you feel? Are you afraid of being hurt? Why did you get it? I mean this sincerely. The more of us who get the vaccine, the better it's going to be for all of us. And for those in Florida, I would say, and for around the country and around the world, us doctors are saying that this is a lot of hullabaloo. This idea that not vaccinating healthy kids is a good idea. That is not the case. We need to be vaccinating everyone we can. So I'd love to know what you think. What do y'all think? What are some other ways that we can convince folks that the vaccine's not harmful? Because in some ways, sometimes I feel like I have run out of ideas. So I want to know, oh, Miss Tan, that's right. So one of my Dr. Jen superstars and Miss Tan, you're on YouTube right now. You were actually in the clinical trial. Were you on the clinical trial for Pfizer or Moderna? I can't remember. She was actually in the clinical trial, and it was really cool because during some of our lives and stuff, she talked to it because I have my subscription groups on Facebook and YouTube. But Miss Tan talked to us about what it was like to be in the clinical trials for these. And it was amazing. You've been vaccinated since September 2020, actually, about 3 months before most of the rest of us could get vaccinated. You feel good. You're actually waiting to see if you could get a fourth shot. You just wrote that in on YouTube. I really appreciate you writing that in. I would love to hear any positive stories or, stories that you think may help other people. This is not about shaming, it's about discussing. And for those of you who push the narrative that the vaccines are false, or false or wrong or bad or evil, I invite you to listen to a different opinion, um, to hear that perspective. Just taking a look. Yeah, JJ, I'm sad for those who shame the kids too. And by the way, for those of you who are just tuning in, you know me, I'm Dr. Jen. Okay. Um, I'm Dr. Jen. It's good to see you. Make sure you order your second set of free COVID tests from the government, covidtest.gov. That is available starting March 7th. So make sure you go ahead and order those. I also have my group called I Got the COVID Vaccine. For those of you who've been following me for a while, you know that we have that vaccine. If you want to hear about the COVID vaccine, if you want to learn about it, it is a positive group only. It is not for those who want to bash the vaccine or speak ill against it. That is not tolerated at all. Okay, so please join the group, and that's on Facebook. Also, I've got Healthy Living with Dr. Jen on Facebook, and that's where we talk about all sorts of stuff. Of course, I've got subscription groups on both Facebook and YouTube, and that's for exclusive content. Hello, exclusive content. I see all of you on Facebook who are sending stars. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Let me take another look at the comments. Hold on one second. Let me take another look. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So, Santiago, you have a really interesting point. You said you're not against vaccines. You just think it needs more time to be out and see what starts happening to people over the next few years. Okay. Um, well, so you know what? And that's not an idea that other people have not had. And I'm not against that idea. But I would also just ask you, like, to think about other things that I can probably guarantee at some point you or a family member or a niece or nephew or a child or whatever, or yourself, you've probably, or your family member has been offered a vaccine or a medication that was recently FDA approved. And the likelihood is that your family member, your niece, nephew, child, whatever, wife, spouse, you, parents, whatever, took the medication or the vaccine and did okay. Once again, I want us to ask ourselves, especially if we feel that way, why do we feel that way here when chances are we didn't at other times? Why are we okay with going to the hospital and getting all sorts of treatments? Remember, remdesivir, Paxlovid, all of those treatments that many people say they will take for COVID are just as new, if not newer, than the vaccine. They will get those. They won't get the vaccine. That's just what I want you to think about. Okay. All right. Anyway, you guys are awesome. I love y'all. Write your comments, your ideas in the description here. I will take a read. For those of you who send stars, I will respond to you personally. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for taking a watch. Just be mindful of what's happening in the world, and remember, getting the vaccine is one of the best things we can do to fight and push back against COVID. Guys, I love you all. Make sure you stay safe. Okay, that's the name of the game, right? Okay, love y'all.